We all know trucks are tough, but what if your engine could destroy it all? Yes, you heard that right. If your truck has this engine, it might be time to say goodbye. Number 10. Let's kick things off with an engine that promised the world but delivered a headache. The Nissan 5.6L Endurance V8. Built to power the Nissan Titan, this engine was supposed to compete with Ford and Chevy heavyweights. Instead, it gave truck owners a masterclass in disappointment. The history is ironic. Nissan took the VK56 engine, which debuted in 2004, and decided to modernize it for the Titan and Armada. They slapped on features like direct injection gas and variable valve event and lift to improve fuel efficiency. But did it work? Not really. Drivers reported terrible real-world mileage that made gas stations their second home. On paper, the specs looked promising: 390 horsepower and 394 pounds-feet of torque from its 5.6-liter aluminum alloy block. Tens of thousands of these engines were produced, and the trucks they powered hit the market with price tags ranging from $25,000 to $35,000. Twist, but here's the catch. Resale value plummeted faster than you can say oil consumption issues. And oh, this engine guzzled oil faster than you could refill it, often leading to catastrophic damage if unchecked. Then there were timing chain failures, which sounded like a death rattle for your engine. Let's not forget the cooling system problems, which caused overheating, leaving drivers stranded on the roadside. So why keep this disaster under the hood? If your truck has this engine, you might want to endure the loss now and trade up. Unless, of course, you enjoy surprise repairs and watching your truck's value sink. Then we have an engine that aimed for greatness, but landed squarely in the "what were they thinking" category. Number 9. Meet the Ford EcoBoost V6. First generation. Launched in 2011 with much fanfare, this 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged engine was marketed as the future of pickup trucks: efficient, powerful, and tough. Ford claimed it could combine the brute strength of a V8 with the fuel efficiency of a 4-cylinder. Sounds too good to be true? It was. Let's start with the specs. This engine cranked out an impressive 365 horsepower and 420 pounds-feet of torque, which seemed great on paper. Ford even planned to produce over 750,000 units annually by 2012. Originally priced around $25,000 as part of the F-150 package, these trucks now go for far less, and not in a good way. So why the bad rap? Overheating was one glaring issue. Imagine towing a trailer in summer, and suddenly your engine decides it's sauna time. Then there's the oil consumption. Burning through a quart every 3,000 miles might be acceptable for a clunker, but not a modern marvel. And let's not forget the turbochargers, those crown jewels of this engine, had the life expectancy of a mayfly. Replacement costs could make you rethink your life choices. Here's a question. How do you feel about an engine that guzzles oil, fries turbos, and might spontaneously combust? Because that's what some owners dealt with: actual engine fires caused by overheating. Throw in fuel injector clogs and carbon buildup, and you've got a recipe for disaster. In short, the first-gen EcoBoost V6 might have been a bold idea, but it's now a cautionary tale. Built Ford tough? More like built Ford troubled. Now, if you thought that was bad, wait till you hear about the Nissan 5.0-liter Cummins V8, a partnership that was supposed to revolutionize the half-ton diesel market, but ended up being a spectacular flop. Number 8. Born from a 2007 collaboration between Nissan and Cummins, this engine debuted in the 2016 Nissan Titan XD. It promised power and efficiency, but spoiler alert, it delivered headaches instead. This 5.0-liter V8 boasted 310 horsepower and 555 pounds-feet of torque, paired with advanced tech like a compacted graphite iron block and aluminum alloy heads. Sounds solid, right? Well, only if you enjoy turbochargers failing faster than cheap fireworks. The infamous 2-stage turbo setup was notorious for breaking down without warning. And that's not all. Its DEF system had a flair for throwing error codes just for fun. Oh, and let's talk costs. Parts for this engine were scarce and absurdly expensive. Why? Because Nissan discontinued it in 2019, leaving loyal customers stranded. Imagine spending a fortune on a truck only to find out its engine has the lifespan of a goldfish. Fuel economy? Let's just say pushing the truck might be more efficient. Resale value? A nosedive. So the question is, why are you still holding on to this engine? The only reliable thing about it was its ability to disappoint. Moving on, let's talk about the Dodge 4.7-liter V8 PowerTech, an engine that seemed great until it wasn't. Number 7, introduced in 1999, Chrysler hyped it as the future of performance, retiring their trusty 318 V8 in favor of a more efficient design. With 235 horsepower and 295 pounds-feet of torque, it sounded promising. But like a fair-weather friend, it let you down when you needed it most. One of its biggest flaws? Head gasket failures that turned your engine into a steam room. Overheating was almost a rite of passage for owners. And have you ever felt like your truck was trying to cook itself alive? That's the PowerTech experience. Timing chain tensioners also had a knack for quitting, often leading to catastrophic engine failure. And let's not forget those valve seats that dropped like flies, leaving drivers stranded with engines that sounded like they were auditioning for a band. Oil sludge? Oh, the PowerTech loved that too. Skip an oil change, and you'd be better off shopping for a new truck. While Chrysler installed this engine in countless Dodge Rams, Dakotas, and Durangos, its reputation quickly soured. These days, you can snag one for $5,000 to $15,000, but it's like buying a ticket to Frustration City. Is this really the engine you want in your pickup? Didn't think so. Now, if overpromising and under-delivering was an engine, it'd definitely be the Chevrolet 5.3-liter V8 Vortec with active fuel management, AFM. Number 6, this one was introduced in 2006 as part of GM's big fuel-efficient engine overhaul. The idea? Deactivate half the engine's cylinders when cruising, saving fuel, while still giving you decent horsepower. 315 to be exact. Sounds great, right? Well, here's the rub. AFM technology made this engine an oil-sucking monster. Owners found themselves adding oil every 1,000 miles, and some even reported lifter failures that turned the engine into a ticking time bomb. Suddenly, the idea of fuel efficiency seemed more like a clever way to keep your truck in the shop. Forget performance. When the AFM system kicks in and out unpredictably, the engine's smoothness vanishes faster than your wallet's contents when facing repair bills. And let's talk resale value. Would you buy a truck that sounds like it's going to explode at any moment? Didn't think so. GM might have made millions of these engines, but what they really did was leave a legacy of frustrated owners with empty pockets and broken down trucks. Once a bestseller, it's now a cautionary tale. If your truck has this engine, trust me, it's not a matter of if it'll break down, it's when. Next on the list is the Toyota 3.0-liter V6, 3VZE. Number 5, and this engine is truly the reliable paradox of the truck world. If by reliable, you mean it'll leave you stranded when you least expect it. Introduced in 1987, Toyota slapped this engine into the 4Runner, Tacoma, and T100 models, all with high hopes of making their trucks more powerful. It was a 3.0-liter V6 that promised 145 horsepower and 180 pounds-feet of torque. Sounds decent, right? Well, the performance numbers were more like the engine had been sipping on decaf. It could barely pull its weight, literally. Over the years, owners experienced a troubling pattern: overheating, head gasket failures, and a notorious appetite for oil. The engine's compression ratio of 9.01 didn't help much either, making it prone to wear and tear quicker than expected. Twist. But the real twist? After 8 years of production, it was phased out in 1995, with good reason. If your truck has this engine, it's like holding on to an old VHS tape in a world of streaming services. Let's be honest, this engine didn't even get to 200,000 miles without a breakdown, and you're lucky if it's still running after 180,000. Want to make your life easier? Get rid of it before it eats your bank account. And if you're thinking of selling, good luck, as it's barely worth $5,000 now. Now, it's impossible to talk about problematic truck engines without mentioning the Dodge Ram's 5.7-liter Hemi. Number 4. This engine, once hailed as a powerhouse, has now earned its reputation as a ticking time bomb. Launched in 2003, the 5.7L Hemi replaced the older 5.9-liter Magnum engine with a promise of more power and better fuel efficiency. Well, let's just say it didn't quite live up to the hype. The 5.7L Hemi cranks out between 345 to 395 horsepower and 375 to 410 pounds-feet of torque, depending on the model year. Impressive, right? But don't get too excited just yet. The real trouble starts under the hood. This engine is infamous for excessive oil consumption and the dreaded Hemi tick, a sound so loud it might as well be a warning. The multi-displacement system, MDS, designed to save gas, often malfunctions, causing poor idling and reduced performance. And if that's not enough, overheating is a constant concern. Imagine buying a truck that promises power but delivers repair bills instead. As for resale value, well, it's not exactly climbing to new heights. These trucks can be found for around $10,000 to $30,000. But don't expect buyers to rush in. When you factor in the engine's history of failure, you'll be lucky if you can even get close to that number. So if your truck has the 5.7L Hemi, maybe it's time to reconsider your options. Trust me, it's not worth the ride. Next up, we have an engine that made mechanics rich and owners poor. Number 3, meet the Ford 6.4-liter Powerstroke diesel V8. This engine, introduced in 2008, was supposed to be a powerhouse for Ford's Super Duty trucks, boasting 350 horsepower and a hefty 650 pounds-feet of torque. Designed by Ford in partnership with Navistar, it was meant to fix the disaster that was the 6.0-liter Powerstroke. But guess what? It didn't. Instead, it introduced a whole new level of frustration. With over 100,000 units produced between 2008 and 2010, this engine quickly gained a reputation as one of the most troublesome on the market. At first glance, the specs sound impressive. 6.4 liters of raw power. But when you dig deeper, you realize the design flaws make this engine more of a liability than a beast. The DPF, diesel particulate filter, gets clogged constantly, leaving drivers stuck with limp modes and expensive repairs. You might think you're cruising, but your truck is secretly plotting against you, needing frequent regeneration cycles that drain your fuel economy. And let's not even talk about the EGR cooler failure. When that fails, coolant mixes with exhaust gases, making your engine smoke like a chimney. Imagine the horror of seeing steam pour out of your tailpipe while you're stuck on the side of the road. Now let me ask you, would you want an engine that's guaranteed to fail, costing you thousands in repairs? If you own a truck with this engine, run, don't walk, to trade it in before the repair costs eat you alive. The resale value of these trucks sits around $15,000 to $30,000. But with the damage done to its reputation, it's unlikely you'll see any returns worth the headaches. But if you thought the 6.4-liter Powerstroke was bad, wait till you hear about its evil little brother, the 6.0-liter Powerstroke diesel V8. Number 2, Ford's 6.0-liter Powerstroke diesel V8 was supposed to be a game-changer, but instead it became the punchline of every diesel engine joke. Introduced in 2003, Ford's attempt to create a more powerful and efficient engine to replace the 7.3-liter was, well, less than stellar. Designed for Super Duty trucks like the F-250 and F-350, this engine was supposed to combine cutting-edge technology with raw power. Instead, it combined power with disaster. With a 6.0-liter displacement, 325 horsepower at 3,300 RPM, and up to 570 pounds-feet of torque in later models, this engine sounds like a beast, right? Well, don't get too excited because that power comes at a price. Over 100,000 units were produced, but they came with a nasty surprise: head gasket failures. Ever been cruising down the highway and suddenly seen white smoke everywhere? That's your engine saying goodbye as the gaskets blow. And let's not forget the EGR system that clogged up faster than your inbox after a holiday. Add in oil cooler failures, turbocharger issues, and injector problems, and you've got a nightmare. Even better, these engines were so notorious for breaking down, they created an entire bulletproofing industry. If you're still holding on to one of these trucks, it might be better to let it go before it drains your wallet. Would you really want to play Russian roulette with your engine? Finally, taking the crown for the most unreliable truck engine ever, we present the Ford 5.4-liter Triton V8, a true legend in the world of automotive nightmares. Introduced in 1997, this engine was Ford's ambitious attempt to dominate the truck market. But sadly, this engine became more of a money pit, leaving owners questioning their life choices. With a displacement of 5.4 liters and horsepower ranging from 235 to 300 depending on the variant, it seemed promising at first. Over 1 million units were produced, making it one of Ford's most common engines. Initially, these trucks sold for $25,000 to $40,000, depending on the model and trim. Today, you can find used vehicles with this engine for $5,000 to $15,000. But the real question is, why would you want one? Well, for starters, the spark plugs had a knack for launching themselves out of the cylinder heads like fireworks. The weak threading meant repairs weren't just expensive, they were inevitable. Need more fun? The timing chain tensioners were practically ticking time bombs. When they failed, and they always did, your engine would sound like a drum solo from a haunted house. If you enjoy spending money on helicoils and mechanic bills, this engine was perfect for you. And oil consumption issues? Oh, plenty. This engine guzzled oil like a teenager with their first credit card, leaving owners to constantly check levels or risk internal damage. And don't even get started on the infamous cam phasers. Those beauties could turn a smooth engine into a symphony of clanks and rattles. Fuel efficiency? Forget about it. The 5.4-liter Triton guzzled gas at an alarming rate. So if your truck has this engine, do yourself a favor. Get rid of it. It might just be the smartest decision you'll ever make. And there you have it, the 10 engines you should steer clear of if your pickup truck has one. These engines could turn your ride into a money pit, so make sure to check under the hood before it's too late. Also, have you ever had a nightmare experience with any of these engines? Let us know in the comments below, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more.